Okay.
This computer. Bam.
Woo. Okay.
Doing it again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, theys and thems, she's and hers, all of us. I'm putting some extra spice in tonight. Welcome to day 2, session 1 of the Rooted Collaborative Pop-Up Virtual Conference focused on our care. We are so excited to be bringing you just like top-notch content about our mind, our body, our spirit, our personal development and wellness. We're going to jump into all the fundraising stuff in later sessions down the street. But for right now, we getting ourselves geared up. And
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And so I am so excited to have one of the best, the baddest, the brightest life coaches in the biz, Kimberly Boyd Lewis, who in addition to helping women just gather all their bits and pieces and live the life they deserve, is also a fellow fundraiser working for an independent school. And so she gets our work. Kimberly, I don't want to steal your thunder because I want to give you all the bits. But y'all, if you were waiting for an opportunity to understand how to navigate being a superwoman and the myth that comes with that, this is a wonderful opportunity. We are so glad to have you. You have been an early supporter of the Rooted Collaborative from day one when it was just a little mustard seed in my mind. You were like, girl, come on and just do it. So here we go. So I'll turn this over to you, friends. I'm going to be manning the chat in Facebook Live, and I'll be manning the chat in Zoom. I'm going to drop the link both on Facebook Live and in Zoom, and I'll do that throughout the night. Please make sure you ask questions. I think I've made it so that everybody can ask a question on audio, but not on video. I still ain't figured that out yet since yesterday. I gave up, y'all. Next conference. And so, Kim, I'm gonna turn it over to you and mute myself and turn my camera off. Just talk if you need us. I'll be right here.
Okay.
All right,
well, hello, everyone. Must say I am very excited to be here. I must say a little nervous too. You know, Kishshana just brings it and has all this energy and all this other stuff. It's just kind of like off the charts, like so. But and all women, you know, we just need to bring our authentic selves. So that is really why I'm here. And just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I always think that that's important when coming to the table. As Kishshana said, I am a fundraiser, but one of the many things I've had, I say in fundraising, nobody generally goes to school to be a fundraiser. So I've had several pivots in my career and in my life. And I started out my career as a social worker in the emergency room, which has really been a framework for how I have learned to lead within organizations and really, I would say all the practical things of life. And so, that's what's just brought us here. I would say one of the things I feel very strongly about in any organization, in any place, we need to bring 100% of ourselves. And I feel oftentimes as women of color, we are not fully able to do that. I would say, for myself, I am a wife, I am a mom, I am a Christian, I'm all these things. And I don't compartmentalize, like what you see is what you get. And I think that that is the beauty of us. And I think that we should all step into that, although we often don't, and it becomes a challenge. This is really a conversation between us. For as much as I have information to present, I would love that collaborative touch. So I would love for you to ask questions. I know Kishshana, Tiffany may jump in, but certainly welcome all questions. And I really want to start out this session, the Superwoman myth, because I believe it's just that. In true form of how I started my career, which is as an emergency room social worker. And as such, I feel very strongly, I didn't realize this until probably, I would say probably a few years ago, about how I make decisions. And I use what is called sort of the triage method. And there are three very concrete things that you need to do in the triage method. And if anybody has ever spent any sort of time in healthcare, you'll know exactly what I mean, particularly in an emergency environment. The first thing always that happens in an emergency situation is you really have to look at the symptoms of what somebody is presenting. And so, there are three components that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the symptoms, we're going to cover the diagnosis, and we're going to cover the treatment plan as to how we are able to move forward. And so I really am just going to start out with a little story, and then we're just going to dive in. And it's a story that I've really never shared before, and oftentimes wonder, I'm a little nervous, and also a little nervous about how you all are going to react to that. So I consider myself to be someone who is very accomplished. And when I say that, not touting sort of credentials, but how I present myself in the world, right? So, I present myself and feel as if I'm one, extremely confident, very secure in who I am, able to accomplish all the things, right? So, I consider that I, have a great husband, two well-adjusted children, very steadfast in my community. I, serve in my church community. I'm always the go-to person at work. I'm probably the go-to person in my family. And I'm one of those people, if I sit for 2 minutes, somebody feels very comfortable enough to tell me their problems. So I don't necessarily feel that way when I'm presenting myself. And what I say that to mean is that I'm comfortable with all those things, but what I'm not comfortable with probably was really admitting and taking a step back that that I was noticing some things, right? We don't want to get into the whole notion of self-diagnosing, but I was noticing some things. So there were a few symptoms that I noticed. And if Tiffany can just move up to the next slide, I'll outline those symptoms for you. So in my case, it started out at probably about 5:15 in the morning. And generally, I'm a person who's up about 5:15. I love to hop in and get my exercise going. Just have my quiet time, just be peaceful before I get into the rat race of breakfast and getting things ready and getting the girls to school and doing all those things. On this particular day, I noticed heart palpitations. I noticed lightheadedness and all sorts of just things where I just knew, wasn't quite right. So the first step is I was like, So I got out the shower, got myself together, and told my husband, we need to take the girls to school, and asked my mom to take me to the hospital. So when I went to the hospital, I went in, emergency room, they saw me immediately. And then they were like, but they couldn't find anything wrong. Heart rate was fine. Heart palpitations had stopped. All of those things. So what the doctor sent me home with was prescribing just some rest. But while during that time of rest, I noticed some key things that that have been percolating in my mind. And I want to know if any of you all can relate to this. As I took a step back and just thought about all of the things that I had been doing, I had been running a business, I had been working full-time, been raising children, had been being a mom, had been the only woman of color in my within my division for some time. Not only was I the only woman of color, but I also had an MSW and MBA, was operating as a COO, and my manager, who was was answering directly to the president, didn't even have a degree, was making well over $250,000, and had said to me 2 days prior, I think people like you more than they like me, and I feel and they think that I am crazy. I kind of laughed it off and was like, I just think that that's the level of stress. But when I took a step back, what I realized that there were some key symptoms that I was exhibiting and that I wanted to share with you, because I think most women who fall under this whole syndrome, as I like to call it, start to have. One, we often compare ourselves to others, all too often feeling as if their life is better than ours. Two, we feel responsible for all perfection, and anything less I saw as a failure. I often put others' needs or wants or desires above mine, never really thinking that I was doing those things, but I certainly was. And then finally, I took a step back and realized that I was sacrificing my well-being and putting not just people's expectations, wants, and judgments before anything that I wanted to do. So I just would like to offer, and just so curious, are there any of us that currently share any one or two of those symptoms? Because when you work in a mental health environment, or you work as a mental health professional, as I have done for years, there's this, what we call the Bible is the DSM. And that is, they show all the diagnoses. And oftentimes, if you have two or three of any one of the things, you are showing very clear signs of having such. And I often wonder, how many women, particularly women of color, have all of these symptoms and more? And we never question, we never do anything. We just keep moving forward constantly. There's a constant moving forward. Oh, it's just me. Oh, I just need to get this other thing done. Oh, I have a fever, but I'm going to do this. Oh, such and such needs X, but it'll only take me a few minutes. That whole syndrome of constantly saying, we can just take care of it. We can constantly take care of it. But at what expense? Everything costs. And so we just need to be mindful of that everything costs. So, step one, triage, realizing that there's symptoms that we have clearly outlined here, that we are, super women when we are doing all these things. Tiffany, if you can move up. The next phase is the diagnosis. This is a disease which I call Superwoman syndrome. And Superwoman syndrome occurs when a woman constantly is striving and stretching herself to accomplish everything possible in a perfect manner and never putting herself as a top priority. Now, I thought this was interesting because I don't know many women of color who don't feel like this. I don't know many women of color who don't feel as if they have the grace or the margin to make a misstep. And if they make that misstep, what is that cost going to be? Is that going to cost me my job? Is that going to cost me being able to go in and make the next big pitch, although I've done all the research and all the work, And so, as managing, are there any of us in the group who've ever felt this way? I know Kishshana is saying, Lord, me, but is there anyone else who's ever felt like this or who is currently feeling like this? I think that is very key to look at, or if they never even put a name on it.
A lot of folks saying it. We have the other Kim Lewis saying Black women have always carried the load. Erin saying yes. Michaela saying my unofficial model, responsible for doing it all, then feeling overwhelmed. First step is to admit you have a problem. Sharice is saying yes. Okay, I'm making sure it's going on your end.
So, so one of the things that, we're all responding to this, but the very interesting thing is we never put, in a day and age where, we need a label to sort of say something. Now, let me be very clear. Superwoman syndrome is not a real diagnosable disease in the DSM, and you're not going to go see your therapist and say, this is what I've been, I'm self-diagnosing, this is what it is. There's not, but what I am clear on that within women of color, it is, and it is a serious that I have some thoughts about a treatment plan that hold on. I want us to really just outline and really just delve in to all that that means. Because the game plan here is I'm going to walk through this process. I'm going to walk through the treatment steps of what I think, and then we're just going to open it up for some very lively conversations because I know that that happens. So, Tiff, if you can just move it up, we're going to get ready to dive into really the treatment plan. And I think that things should be very simple, right? I think they should be simple, and I think that they should be actionable, that we can move forward and that we can start with today. So I feel like after this call, there's some very clear things that we can do and that we should be doing, and we can break those down into bite sizes and how we move forward. But, I know for a fact that in our brilliance, I know that, for me, and I know for my sisters on this call, that God wants the best for us. And the best for us is not being tired, broke down, and exhausted. I do not believe that at all. So I think that we need to be very clear. We need to be very clear about that. But I think the first step in anything we do is first we have to acknowledge that there's an issue and acknowledge the reality of what we have to bear. I think that that is so important. I think oftentimes we dismiss it. Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's not this. Oh, I just need to take care of this really quickly. Oh, I can write up this memo. Oh, I can do this pitch. And we minimize what that costs to us. We minimize the impact that that has on us. And it's like there's a saying, like, you die by 1,000 little cuts. And I think that you die by 1,000 little disappointments that we often inflict on ourselves, that we never acknowledge and that we never verbalize, and that we're never even truthful with ourselves. And I don't think that we can be honest with anyone else if we are not truthful with ourselves about how we're feeling. So that's step one. I think a way to acknowledge this is, I personally do not feel as if you have to verbalize it out loud to everybody. I think if you have a trusted individual that you feel like you can just lay things to bear, that you do that. But if you don't have that, I think that you get out your journal or you write yourself a very detailed letter and get honest about where you are, what you're experiencing, how things are moving forward or how things are not moving forward, and just move along that. But I think that you need to get that out. I think that we cannot let that fester in our minds. And it's like a broken record that we just keep playing over and over and over again. So whether you talk to your therapist, whether you talk to your really, really, really good girlfriend who is not, when I say that, someone who is going to listen objectively and who is not going to judge whatever it is you're saying, because at this point, that's not what you need. And if all else fails, just write it out. Just write it out in a journal, write it out into a letter to yourself. And if you don't even think you can write it as a letter to your adult self, write a letter to your younger self and what you would want her to know, so that you're very clear. So that is step one. Step two, stop comparing. I cannot stress this enough, because there is always someone who from the exterior looks like they have it all going on. She's the right size, she's the right size, she's fit, she has the right partner. Her kids are perfect. Nobody does anything wrong. She's firing on all cylinders all the time. The grass always looks greener on the other side until you get there. So you just don't know what that means. And so I think that we need to stop comparing ourselves to others. And when I say that, I think it's fine to have a benchmark. I think it's fine if there's a mentor or someone who you don't even know, who you admire, and you say, oh, I think that's great. I would love to know how she accomplished X, but just don't compare and covet what the sacrifice it is to have accomplished whatever they accomplished. We don't know the background to how they got any of those things. So, I think it's very important to stop comparing and know that we all have very unique gifts and talents that we that we have to give to the world, right? We have to. I think particularly when I think about the career fundraising, we are always we're generally raising funds for somehow in the greater good. And so we're always willing to put ourselves out there for that, but we constantly compare ourselves to say that we're not good enough. And so how can we continue to step up and step out and ask people for money and ask people to step up to the plate when we are not, when we're downplaying our own skill set? And I believe that all of us have gifts and talents. So I think that that's really clear. And Kishshana, can you jump in? Because I can't see the chat. I just see people are chatting, but I can't see what they're saying.
Absolutely. And so Michaela says, I agree. That's a powerful word image. And Jacqueline said, we die by 1,000 little disappointment. That's a nugget. She also said, I'm here. That's all. That's what I got so far. So everybody was jumping in and saying, oh, Kim said, yes, but I eventually learned to shine my own light and not step back. So we have that. Now let me go to Facebook and see what we have there. Hold on. People are just joining here now. So let me refresh that. But keep going, and I'm going to jump in one more time when I can refresh that.
Okay. So, and I think step 3, and I think that this is big. I think we have to define success for ourselves. I think that is so important because, there are different seasons of life, and, there probably what I thought successful was in my 20s is not that now. What I thought success was in my 30s has certainly shifted. Now in my 40s, it has definitely changed. And I think that we have a right and we must define success for ourselves in every aspect of our life. I think we get to define what we view as a successful relationship, what we view as a successful career, and a successful life. And I think that is all too important. And, that can be tied to material things or not material things for you. But overall, at the end of the day, when things, when you're just sitting back in your rocking chair, just relaxing, on the beach or wherever you find joy, how will you define success? And I think it's so important because I think if we don't define that early and often, I think we're always chasing something. And so it's almost just like chasing a pipe train. It's never pinned down. Like we never know what that is. And how do we know when we've arrived? Or how do we know when that thing that we've talked about for so long, when we arrive there, it brings us no joy and it's just disappointment? How do we know those things? So I think taking a step back and really defining what success means for you is key, and how that looks. And I think that we should be as vivid in our talk to say that have always been a big journal person. That has not been the case often, but I do think I'm a big list person. And so I oftentimes, where I can't delve deep, I just try to make little lists about little things that are really important to me. And I think, defining success is one of those things that I really like to take my time on and really know. At one point, early on in my life, I would have been like, oh, success is when I have a X, Y, Z amount of dollars. Well, that dollar amount has changed, has fluctuated, has done things. I've made decisions to say I really wanted to be happy and I needed to do X to make that happen, which really wasn't defined by money. So I think, all of those things, we just really need to take a look and see what that really means.
Absolutely. And I'm going to jump in here and just give you some more comments that I have from the Facebook feed. Naima says, there are seasons of Superwoman syndrome. Mary said, yes. So I think there's going to be a question I'm sure Naima's going to have with that. So I want to just pop in and say that when we get to the discussion part. And then Nicole says, that's key. What success looks like depends on our evolving selves. So we are with you right now. We are with you and we are agreeing with you.
So yes, and I would say step 4 is part of the treatment plan is ask for help. I can't say that enough again. Ask for help. I think one of the things I've often thought is people should be able to read my mind. They should know that I need help. You know, my Y and Z, you should know that this is they need to be doing. You know, my boss should, listen, I have meetings with her. Why doesn't she know that X, Y, and Z is going on? So I think it's very important that we open our mouths and ask for help. Nobody knows. Nobody is a mind reader. They don't know. And, oftentimes we can say, well, that's basic common sense. But that's not necessarily true. And when you're asking for help, you need to be very clear about what that helps look like. Oftentimes people are offering help and we say no, but we're saying no because that's not the help we need. So I think that's really important to be mindful of. Just ask for the help that you need. Be very clear and specific about what that help is. Whether that's if it's in a workplace, whether that's you need to adjust your hours. You need to figure out a solution for how to do that. Do you need more support? Do you need an assistant? If the answer comes back as no, we can't do that, that your response is let's figure out a way best to do that so that I can bring my best self to be able to do that. So I just think it's really important that we're very clear and that we ask for help. And then the final step in the treatment plan is to release untruths. I just cannot stress that enough. It's just to release the things that are not true. That the things that we have, the self-sabotage that we have played out in our minds, the things and issues and concerns that we constantly carry that are not ours to carry, people's concerns and issues, those are not ours. They are not our truths. So we have to be very clear to live our truth, and what that means for you. And everybody is different, and it's not for someone to disagree with you back and forth, or for you even to engage in the disagreement. It's just like, this is my truth. This is what I see. And anything that doesn't fall in the realm of that, I'm going to release. Is really, really important. And so, we're always there. And so, Shauna, before I move on, is there any other thing, comment, or questions?
Yeah, we have comments that say, so Michaela says, release those untruths. They are not yours to carry. This is a whole sermon, so calmly, elegantly, and firmly delivered. And Jacqueline says, true, Michaela, true. More support. That's been a hard no. Also that you might be a little glitchy, so we're just keeping track of that. This has been good so far.
Okay. All right. And when you have you've gone through and you've had your exam, you've had the diagnosis, and you come back and there's the key follow-up. The key follow-up is in this affirmation that I think that we all need to subscribe to. I can have it all does not mean I have to do it all. And I want to say that again. I can have it all does not mean I have to do it all.
The sermon is over. The sermon is over. The sermon is over. That's it. Y'all know y'all can unmute yourself. The sermon is over. We got to go home. I can't. Okay, I'm back on mute.
So I just say that, that is just something that I would love to, constantly share. And I just cannot stress enough that we need to constantly say that to ourselves. And I say all of that to say that, Superwoman is, Superwoman is just a myth. She does not exist at all. And I think that we make up these things, particularly as Black women, we make up these things at a detriment to ourselves. We constantly talk about, what we can handle. Oh, you have to be strong. Oh, you have to be this. Never realizing that it comes out in hypertension, it comes out in diabetes, it comes out in mental illness. And so I just want to, just say that again, just as a reminder, so that we all know that there is no superwoman. There is no superwoman at all. And, for as much as I'm sharing this information with you, one of the things I have really come to realize is that I am not superwoman. I am a woman who has embraced my strengths, my flaws, my type A personality, and my desire to build a legacy for my daughters, one which is free of such labels um, and expectations. I'm a woman who no longer compares herself to others, who has defined success for herself, who is willing to ask for help even when she feels uncomfortable doing so. I want to say that again, even when I feel uncomfortable doing so. I am a woman who understands that life isn't perfect, but it's mine, and I will embrace it fully. I am a woman who is free of the superwoman syndrome and willing and able to live an exceptional life that I deserve. And that is what I want for all of you. And I think that we can have it. And I think that it may take some work to undo some of the stories that we've been told, some of the stories that we tell ourselves. But, there's certainly stories that we shouldn't pass along to others. We should not pass along to the next generation. And so anything else that you remember from this conversation is that affirmation. I can have it all. I have to do it all. And Kishshana, I just see bunches of stuff flying up in the chat room.
Okay, but you can't see the chat itself. I don't know what the heck is going on.
No, I can't see that.
So Tiff, maybe stop sharing screen and see if Kim can see the. Okay, now see if you can see it. Scroll across the bottom, to the right.
No, I see it.
Now you can see it. Okay, good. All right. And everybody, I've given you all permission to talk, except Anika, because I think you have an older version of Zoom. So I'm promoting you to panelists. And make sure your camera is off. Put your finger on the trigger so you can turn your camera off. Okay, ready? Okay, go. Okay, there she goes. Okay, now she'll be allowed to talk. Okay, I promoted her. I don't know why I didn't do it. Okay, you're good. Everybody, if you have a question that you want to be able to ask, you can ask the question directly just by unmuting yourself. You won't come up on camera. Or you can drop it in the chat. Remember, there's about a 15-second delay, y'all, it seems. And so make sure that you're doing that. But this was awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop talking because I think somebody has unmuted themselves. Okay.
Okay. I think someone's unmuted themselves, but I don't hear them.
Hey, this is Jacqueline. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. So thank you for this presentation. I need that affirmation that you just read to put on the wall in my office for other people to read.
I have provided it to Kishshana, so she's welcome to send it out to you all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a question. So, Kimberly, how did you create your accountability crew? Like, how did you create the circle of folks who will hold you accountable? Like, what was in your decision-making criteria? Because I think Rochelle talked about this yesterday. We were talking about our values and dating and putting. So we've been talking at it. We've been talking about it. But like, not that there's one prescription, but I know you have a very clear way that you approach pulling people together into your life. So how did you approach that, and how would you suggest what should we be thinking about as we think about our accountability?
So, I think that this is so I look at my life very holistically, and I do not try to compartmentalize. So I recognize not everyone does that. So they may have something in their professional life, personal life, but I think in general, I try to find people who are who have very strong values. And when I say that, they may be my values, but they have strong values. I value people also who are willing to have difficult conversations. And then third, people who are respectful, because I feel as if you can have difficult conversations, you can have differing values, we can have different outlooks on life as long as we are respectful. And so I generally, so those are really three things that I look for across the board. And I really need for the people, and I really need people to have all three. So it's not like I have one here, one there. So I think that that is really important, because I think that when we say values are important, I think sometimes we have a tendency to do that whole group think and have people who have the same values as us. And, and I think as the world, I think that as we move in time and space, I think, as we grow, I think we have a tendency to feel like just because people look like us, right? So if there's, Black women, or if there's Latinx women, or if there's an Asian, woman, that we've all had the same experiences, even though we may look like each other. And that's not true. So I think, really being respectful of one another. We have a difficult conversation, you're pissed off with me and then you don't talk to me anymore. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having the capacity to have difficult conversations, even if you rub me the wrong way. I'm like, Kishshana, I'm not feeling you today. But either to be able to have that conversation, and for me be able to say that to you, and then come back, and then we reconnect, and I can say, I think this, you provide an interesting perspective. This is what threw me off. So I would say those are three key things, Kishshana, that I certainly look for in how I have developed my tribe.
I love that. And we have a bunch of conversation happening look, I took my camera off, y'all, because I told you yesterday, cook food, make your bonnet. And my child is like, Mommy, are we going to eat? But we have a lot of comments in the group, but one, people trying to buy merch, I think it's hilarious, but also just because people look like us does not make us compatible. We have to try the spirit by the spirit. Come on, Jacqueline. Taylor says transparency is so key with finding your tribe. Rochelle says your vibe.
And you know what, let me, because Michaela, this is one thing, it is very true. But also I have to put a disclaimer on the transparency. For me, transparency is not telling all of what I know. You have to also have a tribe and have people that respect you, and that can carry you and carry what's important to you. And you can have people in your tribe who do that, but still can't do that. So you can have people in your tribe that are down with you, but you still can't divulge everything to them. And so I think that's really important for all of us to understand.
I mean, that's just a moment. We just all have a moment of silence for that?
Like,
everybody can't come to the VIP section of our life, right? And so, and that doesn't mean they can't party with us. It just means sometimes you can't come, right? You don't got the wristband, you can't come.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You ain't got the wristband, you can't come. And so I love that. So Michaela says, wisdom, Kimberly, those that can carry your stuff and have earned the right to do so. And then over on Facebook, Leah says, that's true. Life circumstances and experiences change our definition of success. That was from earlier. And then Naima wants to know, well, how can we model this for the next generation?
So, I think that it's a work in progress. I can tell you that I try very hard to model everything I just said. And I think most people who know me, I think that Kishshana, Rochelle would tell you that I do. But also, too, I have to say that I'm always learning. And I think it's very important to do that. And I think I have two teenage daughters, 16 and 18, one who will be going off to college. And very recently, one of them said to me, sometimes, Mommy, I feel as if like you are like a robot, like nothing ever gets to you. And to me, I was totally taken aback, because that's not true. And not only is it not true, that's not the message I'm trying to send to them, because that message is, I can't be vulnerable. They haven't seen me cry. They haven't really see me upset. Rarely do I curse, but my younger daughter said, I think it would just be more helpful sometimes if you just cursed, because, you know, by the time you finish talking to people, people feel so bad as if, you know, if you just used a curse word, that would be on it. And I'm just like, well, you shouldn't be cursing either. I think it's really important to always be honest, always have the ability to be able to apologize when we have a misstep, because we will. Being very clear, younger women of color, that we sometimes too still make mistakes, and that we and so and also try for the yes, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, but yet again, not everybody gets to see that vulnerability. You know what I mean? They just don't. And we have to use discernment on who we're sharing that information with and who we're sharing all of ourselves. So I would say those are the things that I'm doing to use to model for the next generation moving forward.
Sorry, I love that. No, I love that. I had a
I think it would be great if Rochelle designed us some wristbands. Maybe we'd be on point with that.
Listen, I got the wristbands, the t-shirts, the sweatbands, the notebooks, the book, the cozy for your cup. Listen, because I think at the end of the day, we all need to be reminded. And so the merch, the notebooks, all of that helps us to remember. Because sometimes you really don't have to be reminded by a homegirl, sister, friend. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need a notebook that says, hey, I'm not with the shit. Sorry, it's right here. Period. Okay, I'm gone again.
Kishshana, you're muted.
I was like, I need the book. I need the book. I'm just holding it up next to me on screen. I love it. Well, this is so awesome. Ooh, I also touched the tea kettle by accident, y'all. My bad. Sorry for the sound. I'm just getting excited in my kitchen. So I think that is so good. Excuse me. Kimberly, you know, thank you so much for just giving us those steps. And y'all, I don't know if you've been noticing, but we have been uploading files into the file section. So we'll make sure we get our 5-step process that Kimberly has put together, as Kimberly patented, for us to be able to follow. And Rochelle, there was already a request, a DJ request, that we get it into a plaque or something we can put on the wall. But this is so important for us to remember and have actionable steps that we can be super, but we don't have to don a cape, you know, and really be able to understand how to navigate and how to balance the two. And really being that discernment thing, I think, was a big piece. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on, y'all. If y'all have more questions, just keep dropping them in the Facebook feed. We thank you so much, y'all. This is just a little taste of what you can expect at the Rooted Retreat. I saw some registrations come in last night. Let me pop it for y'all. Okay, this is the I really can't pop it that good. But keep dropping it. The early bird only lasts until tomorrow night. I had asked the team to extend it several times, but the price does go up on Thursday. $200 secures your spot. Go to therootedretreat.com, and then the auto payment for the final is coming out in a couple of months, so you have some time. And so, Kimberly says, I hope you all still have your edges. I mean, y'all have time to grow it back, because when they let us out of this batten down the hatches at home, we're gonna want to be together, and we want to be together at the Rooted Retreat with all of our edges intact, with our wigs and lace fronts, so we can just take it off and throw it. Okay. And be able to be together. Ain't it gonna be good to be together, y'all? Oh my goodness gracious, you know. And so thank you so much, Kim, for that. Thank you for being an active member, an early supporter in the work that we're doing. And if y'all need some life of coaching, get your coins together and just slide up into Kim's DM. Did you put your information there? Just drop it in the chat, Kim, because she is ready, willing, and able, and is amazing. And so, like I said to y'all last night, there are, I think, about 6 of us in the group who are either life coaches or career coaches, or a combination of the two, who are at the ready to help you. I am not the only one. This is for all of us. You know, you vibe with who you vibe with. I love that from earlier. And make sure you get the help you need to be able to level up in your career and in your life. And I'm so glad that we have the talent in our group to keep it in the family. All right, y'all, we're gonna stop recording for a little bit, and we'll be right back in about 6-7 minutes, so that we can have our next speaker jump in, which we're going to talk about exercise as a right, not a privilege. So go on and grab your water. I'm putting the casserole in the oven, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. I really am. I'm putting the casserole in the oven. I just made one. And I'll see y'all in a few minutes. Okay, y'all. Kim, thank you so much, friend.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, let me stop recording.